Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to session 9 of Changeling the Lost, Viva Lost Vegas. Uh, can you believe that we've been doing it for this long already? Uh, so, before we get started, as per usual, just want to remind everyone that Onyx Path Game Night is the last Friday in the month. Uh, that'll make this month's on the 31st if I'm reading the calendar right. Let's see here. Likewise, just to mention, the next crowdfunding campaign for Onyx Math Path will be the Trinity Continuum Player's Guide on Backer Kit. If you want to be notified of this, I'll just go ahead and drop a link in chat. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and get started today. So uh, it's been 6 days. Today is Friday, July 23rd, 2021. Let's go around the table. What has everyone been doing over the past week?
I'll go first. So, Kenzie has been making friends. Capital F friends. We're going social maneuvering all the way. For the first 3 days, that's literally all I did. I caught up with Madam Anybody um, by pickpocketing her tag you're it card. She congratulated me on being a dirty thief. I texted with Mario DeSoto with the goal of becoming friends. And we talked a lot about what he does in smuggling drugs into the freehold into Las Vegas. They run about a third of the city's drug business, so that's pretty fucking chill. And I also talked with Moggins about proper cat care, um, and we'll get to that later, I'm sure. I spent some time gathering goblin fruit with Bob, and I got another cog leaf, so we're pretty good at finding those. And I also talked to Will about getting some higher clearance, because not being shown that note in that moment could have been really freaking crucial. There could have been time sensitive information, like the note that had, Clara's whereabouts on hunt night. So I was basically told if you want higher clearance, fucking earn it. So we're working on it.
All right. Uh, okay, so Elliot, um, first off, he heard back from Gizmo, the hacker from earlier on who thought we were part of the bookbinders. I had asked him to take a look at that laptop we recovered from Gleam Serpentine's house, and he managed to find a long email chain between all of the bookbinders. We've got 50 odd addresses connected through here. It's going to be a bit of a work to track back down anybody from those, but it's a nice way to get some information. I talked Buzz Orson, the guy who was 1984, into telling us a little bit about what's going on. Apparently, Gatsby's got some big old plans to get back in the Lord of Tales good books, and as an organization, the bookbinders have been doing a pretty bad job lately. Which, go us. Um, the viscount that I met last week at the party, I brought him a painting I threw together. He seemed really pleased with it and is up for an appointment at my leisure. Um, and I was able to track down Leia, the person mentioned in 1984's note. Leia Blitzen is a winter courser. Spent a lot of time in the hedge trading with hobgoblins and was known to be close to Buzz. We'll probably have to go talk to her about things, but as far as we can tell, she doesn't know about his work. I picked up a Polaroid camera for use in some um, uh, contracts that I have, and also spent some time in Jeremy's head doing some weaving to make some glamour appear and make him like Kit a bit more. And I found Verona's bastion in the Dreaming Roads, but I wasn't able to get in or figure out how hard it was because I'm not so good at that particular part of dreamweaving. So we'll have to go investigate later. All right. With that in mind, Kit?
So the first day, I spent talking to Kelly, the Jack Ketch, getting some advice about um, what I can, what's safe to divulge with to Delilah, and also getting some advice on the Mirror Folk. Basically, for the Mirror Folk, they're generally not the most intelligent, but they tend to be very vindictive. So that's something I'm going to need to have to address soonish. Um, Day two spent the day talking to Minerva. She's the hedge archaeologist that Kit is hoping to work with, and basically the biggest issues that she has is uh, dealing with the hubs and the occasional other changeling. So I think I might be able to help with that. Day three, I spoke with Delilah, kind of divulged everything. Specifically, didn't mention names or specific locations. Just wanted to keep things a little chill and a little close to the chest, and also swore had her swear an oath of secrecy regarding these, um, which I we swore it on. Gonna sound a little weird, but on the silencer that I use, hoping to down the road be able to use that to make a token. Let's see here. And then day five, day four, spent the day with Mimsatch at the burrow, basically teaching him how to work with the thistle cattle, and he seemed to really enjoy that and whatnot. And then for the last day, I went into Delilah's dream to cultivate some glamour. Uh, Nothing of real note there, just a nice chill dream. So
Alrighty. Thank you, everybody, for getting everything taken care of. So let's get started. Everyone has asked for a little solo scene at the beginning here, and I'm willing to accommodate. Can I ask you all to just roll me a chance die so we can see what order to take these in real quick?
Absolutely. Got a 10 for me.
nice. I got an 8.
And I got a 6.
All right. That means we're going with Elliot's first.
Hi there. So,
Alrighty, Elliot. So, what was it that you wanted to do?
so I needed to stop by the Goblin Market to pick up a very specific thing to help Mimsatch with his goblin debt. I'd grabbed some of Kit's chips from his Fey resources, and we're going to go look for a bit of market sense to help Mimsatch pull himself back together.
Alrighty. Roll me wits plus occult, please. And if you have market sense yourself, feel free to add that as a bonus.
Alrighty. With that, I've got 2 successes.
All right. You are drawn to a stand that is in front of a small dark tent. The hobgoblin manning it has a few choice items on display. The one that catches your eye appears to fit the description of what you're looking for. Someone's memories of the goblin market and how to interact with it, manifested as a money changer scale. The hobgoblin manning the booth is slightly short. You can see that he's got thick fur, but it's hard to make out what kind because he's wearing an ornate polished bone armor, and over that, a second-hand suit with a top hat.
Intriguing.
There's a small sign out front describing this tent as belonging to Will the Soulmonger.
All right. I go in and tell him that I'm interested in one of his wares, gesturing to the one in question. Mimsatch is following along with me because I want to clear out a bit of the hollow for the scene that's going to be happening when Kit gets their turn.
All right. Also, roll me, let's say, composure plus empathy.
Okay, so that's not the biggest pool of dice, but we'll make it work. Ah, looks like a failure.
All right. Rild ushers you into the tent. You notice him looking with interest at Mimsatch as he pulls the scales aside. When he pulls it to you, he begins to wrap it up and says, I can make you a good deal on this one. You have chips, yes?
Yes.
I will only want a few. Assuming, of course, that this is a present and not for yourself.
It is a present, in fact.
Good. He grins and says, would this present in fact be for this layabout?
It would indeed. It seems that he had some difficulties here, and I'm trying to prevent them from occurring again.
Oh, yes, says Rild, reaching out to stroke the scale with his furry fingers. I know all about this one's difficulties. They have been quite profitable for me.
Oh? I don't suppose you might be interested in telling me who might have been interested in what he left behind? I am trying to gather him back up.
Oh, several people, you see, but none so interested as myself. It took me these last few weeks, but I was able to assemble all 5 of this wretch's icons. A match set, you might say.
Ah. I don't suppose you're interested in parting with them.
For the right price, he says, steepling his fingers. It's rare that I can assemble this much of one being's soul, especially while that being lives. If you were to, say, find me an icon just as interesting, or maybe more, he grins behind his skull mask, I'd be willing to trade.
I think I might know an icon that would be interesting enough. I'd just have to lay hands on it. But hang on to those. I should be back for him.
Of course. He grins and brings out from under the counter a small painting of a figure on a horse that seems very, very familiar. Perhaps he would be interested in regaining his seeming.
Most likely.
Mimsach, the hobgoblin, is looking in confusion, seeming to register some recognition of the picture, but not understanding why.
He's lost enough of himself that I fear most of these seem unfamiliar. A tragedy, truly.
So interesting, smiles Rild. If you change your mind and would wish to sell Mimsach himself, I would be very interested in having the match set.
I understand, but I'm something of a collector myself, and I have emotional ties to this one. I was there at his escape.
He laughs and says, "Of course. Hopefully, this shall be a profitable interaction for the both of us."
Of
He,
course.
hand, he hands over the merit.
Uh, I hand the wrapped thing over to Mimsach and say, a gift to help with further difficulties.
"Thank you very much," he says quietly, opening his painted maw and eating the scale in one bite.
Thank you very much, sir, and I should be back soon with something interesting to trade.
"Oh, I do hope so," smiles Rild. "If you wish to find me, you know where I am."
Of course. Pleasure doing business with you.
Alrighty. And so with that one, we go to our next scene, which was with Kit.
Okay. So basically, I am given what I figured out with Delilah and them being basically kind of bound to me, I guess, through inheriting a promise and stuff like that. Um, I think it would be best to kind of fully enlighten them a bit. So I'm going to be bringing them into the burrow.
I'm sure Bob
All
will
right.
be a good introduction.
All right. Any particular place you want to enter through?
Um, probably I'm thinking like but by enter through, do you mean like in the human side of things or in the hedge side?
Yes,
Okay.
the human side, the iron
Humans.
side.
Okay. I'm gonna take a pre-existing uh gate. No need to open up a new one and see if I can uh basic basically I want to open up onto the trod that I made and then bring them to the hollow from there.
So you know of a few places, and since you said you want to take her to through the trod that you made, then right now the only other entrance to the mortal world is the one on top of the Wasset Casino.
Right. Yeah, so let's go ahead and use that one then.
All righty. You convince Delilah to come with you to the roof of the casino building, looking out
Mhm.
over the Waset's pyramid. She shivers lightly in the air and says, "Okay, so why did you bring me up here?"
Well, figure how things stand right now. Uh, you're not the most well protected. And I think visiting my home will help you out a little bit.
"And you live on the roof of a casino."
No, this is just the most let's say the easiest entrance. Come on, it'll be fun. And I open the gate.
All right. She shrugs until you open the gate, at which point her mouth drops open in surprise. She was like, "So that stuff you were telling me the other day when you made me swear on your gun."
Yep.
She follows you through. Uh, the only thing she stops to register is your fey mien when she gets to look at it in its full glory. She
Mhm.
looks you up and down from the tip of your ears down to your boots and says, "You're a rabbit."
Yep. So, long story short, when I was taken, I was changed in order to fulfill a job. And the good cousin that was I'm trying to think how to put this. My captor thought being a rabbit would help in my duties.
As you walk along the trod, she eyeballs you and says, "Why would being a rabbit be helpful?"
Well, need to get books off the top shelf. Rabbits are good at jumping up.
She frowns and looks down at the ground. "I'm not sure I understand that logic."
Neither do I. That's the closest thing I can think of. The good cousins are not exactly on the same wavelength as the rest of us are. They have their own way of thinking about things.
And with that, you arrive at your hollow, the burrow. Uh, Standing outside the entrance, you see a familiar face, the corpse-like grin of Screamer. He is holding a large parchment envelope and wearing a small paper hat.
Wasn't expecting to see you here. How can I help you out?
He shrugs and says, "Oi, mate, didn't know you lived here.
Yep.
I got me a job here, and it's to deliver something to." He looks down at the envelope. Uh, Little lady named Delilah, apparently. Mate, this would be her?
Who sent who sent you out here?
He smiles and says, "Oh, just one of those transparent biddies that hang out in the graveyard of occasion."
Okay. Fair enough. This is her. It's my great granddaughter.
"Well, I'm pleased as punch," he says, bowing and handing over the envelope. He shrugs back up at you and says, "They may only pay in pairs of coins, but those old coins go for quite a bit, you know."
I might wanna swing by that. What which graveyard was that at?
He scribbles down an address and says, "Here you go. It's one of the older ones, but I find a lot of work there."
Appreciate it.
He doffs his little paper hat, gives a flourish and a bow, and leaves.
Alrighty. Let's head inside and see what's on your note here. So I'll take her in and down into the burrow proper. Now,
All right. You take her into the burrow. Can you narrate the area for me?
yeah. So it's very Hobbit hole kind of vibes to it. Um, so kind of a lot more of a instead of having a lot of right angles and sharp corners and stuff like that, it's more um, like tube shaped on the inside in the halls and more rounded corners, stuff like that. It's homey. Uh, not much in the way of actual like um, stuff that was bought. Most of it's been handmade or uh, and whatnot. If not made by kit uh, purchased from artisans and individuals rather than Walmart kind of deal.
All right. Do you have a place to sit down with Delilah?
Yeah, we'll go into the dining room. So yeah, once again, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You guys enter into the dining room. Delilah's looking all around and says, "Okay, so I'm still putting everything together. So the story you told me about being a cowboy in the Old West and my great grandpa was true.
Yep.
And my great grandpa is also a rabbit. But you weren't always a rabbit.
Right.
So I'm not part rabbit or anything like that."
Nope.
She breathes a sigh of relief. That's the last thing I need to hear today.
All right. Let's take a look at that note here. I have a suspicion of who it's from.
She opens it up and starts to read it. She reads aloud, "I am so proud of you, little Dell. I didn't live to see this day, and neither did your mother. This place, this hedge, does not allow a promise to be broken, even by death. You are the one that fulfilled my promise, and now your mother and I can rest. But first, a warning for you, little one. Stay away from Cousin Rupert. His secret took us from you, and it will take from you my father as well, if you let it. Be careful, for he knows what you are. Love eternal, Rose."
That's my little girl.
She looks up from it and says, "So, your friend, the guy who looked like he'd been dead for 20 years.
Yep.
Ghosts are real."
Yep.
"So fairies are real, ghosts are real. What next?"
I'll let you know when I find out. I think I might. You bring up a good point, though. I think I might want to start carrying some silver on me.
As of this moment, the kitten Bob hops up on the table. Delilah smiles and goes to pet him and says, "Well, at least this little guy is normal." At which point, Bob stands up on his hind legs and offers a paw to shake.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Bob takes a few wobbly steps and then goes back down to all fours after Delilah shakes his paw. He looks over at Kit and meows loudly.
Glad to hear it. The cattle been behaving?
He nods.
Good. This is it's one of my family members from. They kind of tied to us, so thought it might be a good idea to show them the homestead.
Bob awkwardly gets up on all fours and makes bunny ears with his paws, and then looks over to you and cocks his head inquisitively.
Nah, she's not part rabbit like I am. She's relatively normal human.
Bob nods and meows and then jumps down from the table.
All right. Thank you for introducing yourself.
Delilah watches Bob go with her jaw mildly open. So, when does all the weird stuff stop? Kit, Grandpa, Mr. Cotton?
You can call me Kit. Not one for formalities.
Yeah.
So, long story short, it doesn't. Best thing I can, the best advice I can give you. So, trying to think about a good way to put this. When things get weird, trust what you see, and just go with it. It's really all you can do.
She looks down and nods. A little bit of the fight seems to have gone out of her.
Don't quite just because I'm telling you to roll with it doesn't mean there ain't stuff to fight for or fight against.
So, do you know what the deal is with Cousin Rupert?
Well, if my suspicions are correct, your cousin Rupert ain't your cousin Rupert. Rupert probably never existed. Basically, when I was taken, a bit of my soul was broken off, and the gentle folk that took me decided to take that bit, throw some rubbish around, and make a facsimile of me. From there, as time went on, it probably shifted and changed, and became his own heir. And it's your cousin Rupert.
She grimaces and says, "I know that in my grandma's journal, it mentions that Kit adopted a 17-year-old late in life, not long before he died. What makes you think this thing that you were talking about is still around?"
Oh, your mama's note. Sorry, your grandma's note.
It does say he's got a secret, but do these things, are they immortal? Do they die? Do you die?
They can die. I'm banking on that. But I can't say for 100% sure. I need to do a bit of investigation first. Now I have some friends that are good at dealing with these guys, so I'm gonna talk to them, get some advice. Best thing I can say regarding him: keep your distance for a bit. Okay? He's gonna be on edge now. Guarantee you, he knows that we've been talking.
She nods and says, "Okay, Kit, I'll do my best."
All right.
Was there anything else that you wanted to say to her?
Yeah. Last thing. Okay. You might now that you've seen all this, you might start getting some interesting abilities. Let me know what comes up, and we'll see about getting you some proper training. All right?
She nods. Okay, we can cross that bridge when it comes to it, I guess.
Yep.
All right, so let's go to Kinsey, since everyone wanted their one-on-one scene and two people have had theirs. So, Kinsey, you wanted to meet with Moggins.
I would like to meet with Moggins, yes.
All right. Moggins ushers you into his office in the Las Vegas freehold. He closes the door behind you, locks it, and triple checks to make sure that you're alone, going over every inch of the place to look for stray grimalkins or perhaps bugs of any type. Finally, he sits down at his desk. All right, Les, he says, what was it that you wanted?
I want to grimalkinize Bob.
He nodded and said, I thought you would want to do something like that. You spend an awful lot of time with the grimalkins.
Who wouldn't? They're adorable. They're amazing. They're super cool. They're fluffy and they serve things and they move around and they walk on their feet and they talk to you and they're like, who wouldn't?
He shrugs and says, a lot of people wouldn't. After all, this making an undane cat into a goblin beast is a bit of a controversial thing to do with among some people, but you're enthusiastic, and I like that. He digs around in his desk and comes up with a notebook. It's huge and old. Most of the pages have been removed from the notebook and put in those plastic liners that you would for like a binder to protect them. In fact, he's got it placed in a binder. He opens it up and pages through it. These are the notes. Well, most of them. Some of them have been lost over the years, but I've taken on how to guide grimalkins around, how to raise them so that they're intelligent, so that they're friendly, so that they're helpful, and to make sure they don't become the wrong kind of hobgoblin. You seem like a good person.
The wrong kind of hobgoblin, like alligators?
There's more than one kind of way a cat could become a hobgoblin, Wes. For one, they only become grimalkins when they're around intelligent beings like changelings or humans or other hobgoblins. If, say, a stray cat wanders into the hedge, it could become any number of beasties if it doesn't get out in time, but it's only going to become a grimalkin if it does something like wander into a goblin market.
Cool.
Of course, he says, there's the other thing.
Does this require blood sacrifice? Because I'll do it.
He sighs and says, potentially. This is why I didn't want to tell you any of this, lass. It's a long, long story. I'm old, very old. You see, in the 1600s, I sailed on a pirate ship not long after I escaped my own Fey tormentor. In those days, there wasn't much place for a changeling in the world. It was hard to get a freehold together. Not as many of us escaped back then. And it was hard to fit in. People still believed in things like witchcraft. So a good many of us set to sea. There's a little too much of that tale to tell you, but the one that matters to you is when I was on the ship where I met me old mate Screamer, the one that I helped that you guys helped me meet with. Uh,
The Dream Merchant, right?
him, Les. Uh, I sailed with a crew, and among this crew was a cook. And this cook was the first to introduce me to Grimalkins. His kitchen staff was made entirely of ship's cats. He stood miles in size. He had a time trying to get them not to serve rats to the other crewmen. Anyway, he noticed that I played with the cats an awful lot when we weren't doing what needed on the ship. So one day, he sat me down and told me his secret, the way I'm telling you mine now. He holds out his hands, and you see an emblem floating in the air behind them. It's a cat's face over an ankh. He bequeathed to me his entitlement, the father of cats. As far as I know, there's only one at any given time. He told me that he didn't know much about it, except that he'd gotten his entitlement sometime in the 1400s from an old hedge mage who was attended by Grimalkins. He told me that his master's master had said that the very first cat father had gotten his entitlement directly from Bastet as she was being chased from Arcadia. I don't know if it's true, or if it's some wacky old story some insane changeling from the Dark Ages made up. But what I do know is two things. The power of this title allows and forces me to raise and care for Grimalkins. And unfortunately, it comes with a price. Whoever is the current mother or father of cats may not die until the title has been passed on. I've been shot, I've been skewered, I've been dragged into the hedge more times than I can count. Maybe old Bastet really did give the first cat father this title, because I've always lived every time, and I've always gotten back out. The old ship's cook, after he passed on his title to me, he didn't live more than a year. Shot in the head on a raid. He was a good man. I took over his duties after that. He takes a deep breath. Well, lass, I don't plan on getting shot in the head anytime soon, but I am getting old. Someone else needs to take this title from me. You seem like you could take good care of them. Is this something... Aye, lass. Is this something you'd be interested in? I know I'm asking a lot.
Yeah. I thought I was gonna have to like chop off my arm and that was gonna be hard, but I'll do it. Like, yeah, I'm in. Let's go. Not right now, because I don't want you to be like shot in the head or anything, but like when you're ready to not be shot in the head.
Tis an ordeal, lass, he says. It won't be as simple as me handing it over. But since you're interested, then I'm willing to do it, Les. You're capable, you're interested, and I'm tired.
You take care of everyone and everything. You deserve a break.
Thank you, Les.
I promise to do my best.
He hands over the notebook and says, when you finished raising the first one, show me him, and we'll start the process. All right, anything else that you wanted to do?
I give Muggins a high five, and then I'm good.
All right. So, everyone, let's gather together.
All right.
You were invited to Royal Flush to partake in the trial of one Cheval Gaffer, loyalist.
Yep.
Do you wish to participate?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess we're meeting at Royal Flush, yeah?
All right. The three of you meet up outside. The sun's going down. The Royal Flush Casino is outlined against the harsh light of the sunset. The neon of its own signs and those of the other nearby casinos bathing it in a glow. You can almost feel the palpable sense of terror inside.
Well,
Nowhere to go but in. Onward.
Onward.
yeah, let's go.
So, you head inside. So inside, you see amongst all the mortals a few very nervous changelings here and there. When you ask, you're directed to the office of Lucerne Bridgewater, the courser. You guys know where that is, and you're told to see yourself in.
We head on up.
Yeah.
At the table and at her desk in her office, Lucerne is currently dealing with a stack of paperwork. She appears to be almost done. She looks up at you and sighs, giving you a nervous smile. This is the part they don't tell you about, huh? A few pieces of paper float off the stack and sort themselves. At least everyone's pitching in. Thanks for the help, Gus. She sighs and says, so, are you guys ready?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do this.
Can I propose an idea?
Now's the time to talk if you want to.
I'm speaking to everyone here that's here in this room. We have a liar's fruit. If we were to have him eat it, we would be able to ask yes or no questions, and he would only be able to lie. Therefore, if we said, are you a loyalist? And he said, no, we know he's a loyalist. It's very cut and dry.
I believe I also submitted some evidence about people talking about him specifically. Actually, that does raise a question. What all do we have to prove today?
She sighs and says, here at the Royal Flush, we don't work like the Lost Vegas freehold. They work on a system of nobility. And I understand how hard it is to keep a changeling imprisoned. We can open any door we feel like, You can't keep us cuffed if we don't want to be. And Lost Vegas has decided to go with the traditional freehold punishments of exile and execution since there's no way to lock anyone up. Well, we have more money than they do, she says, shrugging. Mr. Jack, Mr. Gerge, doesn't like the idea of summary execution. We have an iron-barred holding cell.
Oh,
The one thing that a changeling can't escape.
So he
That-
just sits there forever?
Not forever. Depends on the punishment. Right now, we've simply been holding him until the trial. Mr. Gaffer is going to be walked up to the board of directors to be tried. What'll happen is that what'll happen is that whoever of the board has shown up will be sitting in judgment. Someone from the legal department will be brought in as counsel for him. And likewise as prosecution. We'll be presenting evidence in order to convince the board of directors that he's guilty. Once all arguments have been made, the board will vote to find him guilty or innocent.
I see.
If we find him innocent, he's released. If he's found guilty, then he'll be sentenced by a jury of his peers. We do not do death sentences here. The greatest sentence we have is exile from Las Vegas entirely.
Fair enough.
How do you like make sure that happens?
He's cursed.
Cool.
All right.
The curse will activate if he ever sets foot in Las Vegas again, at which point one of our people will be around to summarily show him the door.
I see.
She grins, showing a mouthful of needle teeth. The lure on her forehead dangles down, and the light shines off of them. As the office of the courser, it probably would be my jurisdiction to show him the door if he comes back. And since it's never happened before, that means it'll be at my discretion.
Speaking of which, there was something I wanted to give you while we were here. It's only slightly related. I pass her a flash drive that I'd prepared earlier. I may have recovered an email chain including a large number of bookbinders. I'm going to be searching through it myself, but I thought you might find it interesting for your work.
She whistles through her teeth. Oh, this is lovely. I'm going to get this to our director of tech, and we're going to decrypt this.
Absolutely. The deal, of course, being that you give me any information that you happen to recover from this, and don't mention to anyone that we have it.
Of
You don't
course.
have to.
Of course. No problem.
Sorry, go ahead.
I shake on it with them and gesture over to Kit.
One last question for you before we get going. What's happened with Holly?
I've been trying to look for her, she says, but to no avail, really. It's like she's disappeared off the face of the earth. Jack's been beside himself.
Yeah, I can't say I blame him. All right. Shall we?
I'll go look for her sometime soon.
She nods and shows you up to the top floor below Jack's penthouse suite. On this floor, there is a large room. The board of directors room is set up so that for most meetings, you can only need one long table with everyone's chairs around it, overlooking a glass window. The wall on the other side is collapsible, and when it is removed, it reveals a large second half of the room filled with stadium seating. A couple hundred changelings, likely the majority of the Royal Flush Free Company's membership, fills out the seating. A few card tables have been set up. One side for the prosecution, one side for the defense. The table for the board of directors has 8 seats. 5 people are there, and 3 of them are empty. Lucerne whispers and says it's usually pretty common for at least 1 or 2 members of the board not to show up for any given function, but this is the first time she's seen 3 missing all at once.
Interesting.
When you get a chance, can you get us those names?
Lucerne nods and says, I can show you right there. You've met Jack, she says, pointing at the man sitting in the center. He's chairman of the board. You know him. We all love him. We've all voted for him. Jack's fey mien makes him look two-dimensional, like a playing card. The Jack of Hearts has slicked back hair and a pencil mustache. He is doing his best to seem composed, but anyone who is used to this sort of thing can see that he's barely keeping himself together. Lucerne points to some of the other chairs. The first one she points to is staffed by a short woman with bright red skin, silky black hair, and horns. That, she says, is our director of operations, Id Sinister. She says she used to be the Lord of Tales shoulder devil. She usually does most of the day-to-day operations for the casino side of things.
Checks out. Hi, Drake.
She points to an older man in a old but good-looking tuxedo. That's Mo Thomas. He used to be a barkeep, but since he escaped Arcadia, he's gone teetotal. He's our director of marketing. She points at an empty chair and says, that's where the director of finance would be, Ulrich Pandemonium. He is a satyr. She does a little horn gesture with her fingers. Nice guy. Kind of full of himself, but he brings in the money. She points to another empty chair and says, that's for the director of HR, Amber Van Cleef. She's quite possibly the nicest woman I've ever met. She deals with staffing, and she deals with the needs of the free company's members. She points at another chair where a small, nervous girl is sitting with massive glasses and massive furry gray ears, twice as big as her own head. That's Phoebe Glasser, she says. She is our director of inhuman resources. She catalogs and researches magic for everybody. She used to be an autumn noble, and people say she was in the running for queen until she left with Jack to found the Free Company. She points at an empty chair and says, that's where our director of tech would be, Annis Lovelace. She's an amazing programmer and hacker, but she's also a recluse. She lives a good 30 miles away on the outskirts of town. Hardly ever comes back in. She points at a stately man in a frock coat with slicked back white hair and gray skin with intricate text tattoos all over him. That's Manfred Finch, she says. He's our director of legal counsel. He's also runs a law firm as part of the Free Company, Finch and Associates. He's going to be providing counsel. Both the prosecution and the defense.
Rather nice of him to provide.
Well, it's his job around here. If he didn't, I think we'd all be mad at him.
Fair enough.
So far, the only person sitting on the prosecution side is Cheval Gaffer himself. He seems nervous, as much as you can tell. He's been provided with nothing but a plain white t-shirt and shorts. You can easily see the hairs on his arm standing on end. From here, you can tell that it looks like his entire head from the base of the neck has been removed and replaced with an ornate mirror that is eternally fogged up with a face that looks like it's been drawn on by a finger were it not animated and moving. Currently, what passes for his eyes appear to be closed, and he appears to be breathing in and out very carefully. So she says, Lucerne says, stroking her chin, you guys should take seats and you'll be called up as appropriate.
As you will.
All right.
Lucerne herself sits down nearby. The director of legal counsel, Manfred Finch, stands up and claps his hands. He's got an extremely clinical and perfunctory way of moving that puts you in mind of a robot. He says, good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming in here with us today. I regret to inform you that we have one of our own on trial. He stands accused of being a bookbinder, a loyalist serving the Lord of Tales, who would seek to drag each and every one of us out of our beds and back to our bondage in the Grand Library. There's a chorus of boos from the stadium seating. He holds up a hand and says, hush, his guilt has not been proven. And unlike the Lost Vegas freehold, we are not an organization of nobles and serfs. We do not mete out justice on a whim. He will be given a trial. Should his guilt be proven enough to convince the board of directors, he will be exiled from Las Vegas. He claps his hands and says, I have a promising young man here who will be working as our prosecutor. He works under me at Finch and Associates. He's hoping that he will be made a junior partner soon. Hopefully, he will. Introducing Derek Hutz, Esquire. A very nervous young changeling stands up. He's covered in head to toe in very thick fur with antlers. And he sits down at the prosecutor's bench. He appears to be trying very much to control his breathing as well. And for our prosecution, I believed that it would be best if I got a neutral party. And luckily, I recently found just such a one. The associates and partners who work under me at Finch and Associates are quite valuable to me, and I don't fire them on a whim, even when I think that I should. And when one of them went missing for a month, I thought that I should fire her. But I found out that I was wrong. She came back to me, bay-touched. She has done good work for the city and for my law firm. Introducing everyone to Miss Verona Gonzalez, Esquire. He claps his hands, and from outside the room comes a familiar face, Verona Gonzalez. This time she's clad in a very smart pantsuit and carrying a briefcase. She gives the surrounding changelings a quick glance, and for a moment, just a moment, you feel that she locks eyes with each of you in turn before sitting down beside Cheval Gaffer. Lucerne leans in and says, "Was that just me, or did she give you guys a special side eye?"
Nope, she did.
Her brother.
Long story short, her brother was a loyalist. We dealt with it.
She whistles through her teeth. Oh.
Yep.
Hold on, can I have an out of character moment?
Sure.
Isn't her brother how we found out about this guy?
Yes, which is why the retrieval of the memory that's one of my primary pieces of evidence is going to make this whole court soon real awkward. Because
this is a mistrial. She can't represent him. She's not impartial.
No, that's for the jury, I would say. But this is the guy who got her brother killed. So, should be interesting.
You know what? Screw it. I'm going to say something. I'm going to raise my hand and stand up.
In character or out?
In character.
What is it first?
Oh, I'm just going to let everybody know of the connections. I'm not going to let her attempt to try and hide that.
I think we might want to wait till during the court case for that.
Do you want to do it or not, Kit? Yes or no?
Neither of us is in a position to stop you.
Heaven or hell, let's rock.
All right. Kit raises his hand. Manfred turns to look at Kit, as does the entire assembled room full of changelings. I
believe
do
there's a
not recognize you, but please stand up. Do you have something to say?
yeah, just a little bit of information I think y'all should be aware of. The defendant here is was her brother's point of contact with the book burners.
Bookbinders.
Bookbinders, my apologies.
Okay. Roll me a presence plus expression. No, presence plus socialize plus anything that you might have that could give you a bonus.
Can I use, if I'm not mistaken, our motley thing allows one of us to use someone else's skills, yes?
I believe that's the thing.
Can I do that? Are you guys okay with?
Where's the Motley Oath? I'm looking for it.
Pulling that up real quick.
212 personal oaths, social oaths. Once per chapter, they can members can Motley can mediate. Once per chapter, when representing the Motley, a member can use the highest relevant social skill possessed by any member and apply the effects of any merit or kith blessing present in the group.
All right. So we're invoking that. So together, what will that come out to for your dice pool?
So is this a persuasion?
No, this is socialize.
I don't think we're roaming around a party here. I think we're trying to talk the board of directors into something.
Fair enough. I'll allow that. So let's say presence plus persuasion.
All right. So the highest persuasion we have is probably not going to beat my 4. And my presence is 4 if that's relevant.
I have 3 total for that dice roll.
The Motley Oath allows you to use the highest relevant social skill possessed by any member, as well as applying any merits or kith blessings present in the group. Would any of your kith blessings or merits be useful here?
Not unless you're appealing to somebody's vice here. I don't have a lot of good social weaponized stuff, and we're not trying to get into a bar. So, no.
I might. Give me just a moment.
Sorry.
Hey, man, if you're going to go for it, go for it.
Yep.
And this was going to get awkward anyways when Gleam Serpentine's face appeared in front of everybody getting talked to about Verona and her fingers in like 3 minutes.
Oh, and remember your fashion equipment too.
Yep. Yep.
If you didn't dress up for this, I forcefully dressed you before we walked in.
Okay, so so far that puts us at a 6. Me at a 6 or a 7 actually. Depending on what Kinsey is able to pull up.
Would my looks influence this at all?
Striking looks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me check. I'm not sure.
Because I have 2 dots of striking looks, which would be a +2 to any social rolls.
That is looks would influence. And you would be borrowing that.
That is a really changeling, everybody.
Yeah, that would make sense. Striking looks.
Okay.
So that should put you at 9.
Yep. All right, give me a sec here. Close that. Don't save.
Kenzie's character concept is literally nuclear bombshell.
And why not? Let's go ahead and throw willpower behind this.
Save that for the reroll if everything goes to hell.
All right. It's 5 successes.
That's an exceptional success. Immediately, The courtroom bursts into a susurrus of whispering. Verona stands up and says, I remember you. I remember all three of you.
Yep.
What does my brother's affiliation with this man have to do with my ability to represent him? You should know that I have never met him.
Doesn't
Your
matter.
brother? Doesn't matter. The fact that you're responding like this in this vehement tone should tell the court everything they need to know about your impartiality.
Additionally, we have one of the pieces of evidence to be presented today speaks about you specifically. I'm actually quite glad you'll get to see it today. I hope you, at the very least, will stick around. This is one of the reasons why we were able to find you.
The board of directors are whispering to each other in their seats.
The main thing, cards on the table. Your brother is dead because we found him, because he was a bookbinder. And you have sworn an oath of enmity against us, if I'm not mistaken. Or we're about to. Which means anything that we say when we are testifying for or against the defendant is going to be met with hostility, and I highly doubt you'll be able to remain professional during that, regardless of your ties to this man tangentially or directly. Or if you want, go a different route with it. This man is a bookbinder, and your brother was a bookbinder that reported to him. This man's actions probably led to your brother's death. Probably not the best person to be defending him.
Let us cut to the chase on the difficulties here. May I present a piece of evidence for clarification to explain our concerns?
The board of directors ceases their conversation momentarily. Manfred stands up and says, I see the courtroom has been made immediately into a circus. If it will calm everyone down, yes, you may present your evidence.
My apologies. I reach into my pocket to produce the video recording of the vision from the note left behind to Gleam Serpentine. I play it for the audience, wherein Cheval is standing before Gleam and discussing the loss of his mask and threatening to remove more of Verona's fingers if he does not comply.
Verona looks down briefly at the stump of her missing pinky finger before looking back up.
When we found Verona, they were blindfolded, among other things. It's entirely possible this man was responsible for removing those missing fingers. We have no ability to know. We weren't there. This was one of the reasons we fought so hard to go rescue Verona. However, our actions before that, we were not able to know anything about what caused this in advance, nor were we able to prevent it. We've only sought to do as little damage since then as possible.
The note is passed over to the board of directors to look over it. Verona looks down at her hand, flexing it back and forth. The prosecuting attorney, Derek Hutz, looks up at you, antlers wobbling as he shakes in either excitement or fear, and motions the three of you down.
My apologies, Mr. Hutz. It just this seemed incredibly relevant and would have likely caused more problems if we'd waited to talk about it.
Right, are you three going to go down to the prosecuting attorney's table?
I am.
Under his breath, he hisses at you. This was one hell of a way to start. I was told that you guys were witnesses and I was going to call you, but we didn't even get to opening statements.
I'm very sorry, again, but could you imagine having presented this about 2 minutes into the trial?
The lawyer has threatened me directly.
This was always going to be a bit of a problem. My apologies.
I saw a conflict of interest, and if the conflict of interest hadn't been called out, either way, the legitimacy of this trial would have been in question.
After looking everything over, Jack of Hearts stands up and says, I had no idea that our prosecuting attorney had bad blood with witnesses. This does complicate things. I would like to motion for the prosecuting attorney to be dismissed, for this trial to be postponed until a better fit can be found for the role of defense.
My apologies to everyone concerned.
Manfred Finch stands up and says, I cannot concur, and I would like to call it to a vote for those of us on the board who are here. And I would like to present my argument. No Fey lawyer of Royal Flush or Lost Vegas would be able to present any degree of neutrality in regards to defending Cheval Gaffer. He is accused of a crime against all changelings. The only possible person to defend him is immortal. And unfortunately, Miss Gonzalez is the only Fey-touched lawyer that I have. If we dismiss her, then we will either have to call for a changeling or hobgoblin lawyer from outside Las Vegas, or we will have to bring a mortal lawyer into this. The mortal lawyer will need to be trained not just on the laws of the Royal Flush Free Company, but he will need to be trained on all the lore surrounding changelings and loyalists and the Fae. It is impractical to dismiss the only possible lawyer that we could present to defend Cheval Gaffer. If we do so, he will be forced to defend himself. Nor can we put off this trial indefinitely. The cell that we hold him in has bars of cold iron. As you all know, being close to cold iron is injurious to us. If we lock him up for much longer, he will sicken and die. The trial must proceed now, or it will never proceed, because the defendant will be dead. I call it to a vote of the board. Voting yay on the removal of Verona Gonzalez as defense attorney for one Cheval Gaffer. Jack of Hearts raises his hand, as does Id Sinister. Voting nay, Mo Thomas, Phoebe Glasser, and Manfred Finch raise their hands. The nays have it. The trial shall continue. The courtroom erupts in a display of controversy. Some changelings appear to agree with the statements, and others appear to believe that that Kit was right and that Verona has no place in this courtroom. After several minutes, Jack of Hearts stands up and spreads his hands and says, "The board has voted. The trial proceeds. Please quiet, everyone." Guys, do you have any response or anything that you wish to say to the prosecuting attorney?
Just telling him we're ready to present our evidence and our testimony whenever he needs us. This is his show, not mine.
Yep. And I also apologize to the prosecution.
Kenji just sits quietly and smiles.
Barrett shrugs and says, "This might work in our favor. Cheval was pretty popular here, but at the same time, the defense attorney being psyched out would be good for us." He breathes a sigh of relief. She doesn't look happy with him.
I can't imagine I would be with the person who was actively threatening my brother and got him killed. She certainly doesn't seem happy with us for being involved in the affair. This is going to be awkward.
Especially considering she's insinuated that I should personally watch my back.
Speaking of which, you're going to be leaving through a mirror when we're done here today.
If so, I'm not going to be the one doing it.
Right. We'll have to find another answer. Regardless.
Yep.
You can see at the others on the other side of the room, the defense table. Verona and Cheval have moved in close and are whispering to each other rapidly. Do any of you have any skills, merits, contracts, etc., that might allow you to listen in?
Can I just do a observation perception roll?
Trained observer might let you read lips.
I'll allow for that, but considering what's going on, I'm also going to impose a -5 penalty on the roll.
Okay. Wits plus composure?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do willpower. Reroll all successes. Go. 2 successes.
Well, that's a success. Now, you can't see Cheval's face from where you're sitting. You can see Verona's. And from your side of the table, you can see her whispering in a hurry something to the effect of, "I'm a professional. I don't care if it's you who cut my pinky off or not. We're going to do this."
Now, relay this.
Write it down and pass it to the lawyer.
Yep.
He looks it over and chews his lip nervously. The Manfred stands back up and says, "Though we are doing this in perhaps the wrong order, I will ask for opening statements." Prosecution. Derek stands up and says to the courtroom, "Everyone, You all know how dire it is to be accused of being a bookbinder. Those of you who've been here long enough, whether you were formerly Lost Vegas or not, will remember when the bookbinders first showed up about 15 years ago. They've dragged dozens of us off to Arcadia in that time, back into our bondage with Lord of Tales. They've killed at least a dozen more. While we may not agree with their methods, we absolutely agree with the Lost Vegas freehold that loyalists cannot be tolerated in the community. And we've already seen one piece of evidence that undeniably shows the defendant conversing with a known executed bookbinder, showing evidence of being a bookbinder, the mask that they all wear. The prosecution rests. Verona stands up like a shot and says, what you have already seen is, as I understand it, a memory of a vision. How can we authenticate something such as a memory of a vision granted by magic? We cannot authenticate whether or not this is real. In the absence of any conclusive evidence, the only choice would be to set my client free. I would also like to state that, as I understand it, the only witnesses for the prosecution have started this trial by attempting to sour the jury's opinion of me as a defense attorney, making personal attacks. It's true that my brother was found guilty of being a bookbinder by the Lost Vegas freehold and executed. What does that have to do with my ability to be professional? Nothing. And I'm sure you will find by the end of this trial that there is no conclusive evidence. The defense rests. Jack claps his hands and says, well, as I understand it, there was more evidence. Can you present us with the evidence, Derek? The prosecutor looks over and says, well, you guys are the witnesses. You found the evidence. What else is there?
We also have an overheard conversation in between in 1984 what's his name? Buzz Orson and an as yet unidentified bookbinder known as the Great Gatsby, known to be operating within your organization, talking about Cheval directly. This is no vision, this is merely an overheard conversation, and I believe I provided the date and time to your courser in order to find the phone records. I don't know if they were able to locate those.
Lucerne stands up and raises a hand and says, I was actually, while the recording presented to me was of a memory, I was able to verify it via the phone records, although unfortunately the phone records relating to the Great Gatsby show that he used a burner phone. I was able to pull up the records and access enough of the conversation to verify its authenticity.
Would we be able to play a recording for the court, or would we prefer to use what you were able to extract from the phone network?
The board of directors whispers amongst themselves momentarily, and Jack speaks. I would recommend that we play them back to back.
As you will. I present the memory to the court, overhearing mostly 1984's side of the conversation where Cheval is referred to specifically how it was his fault for showing his face when he should have been wearing his mask during official duties, tying that scene back to what has already been shown, and so on and so forth.
The extracted conversation that Lucerne plays is identical. The audience and jury begin whispering amongst themselves again. Derek leans in close and says, is there anything else that you guys had? I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a lot.
We have a piece of fruit that will make him unable to tell the truth for 24 hours if you want to ask him yes and no questions.
Let's see. We are currently extracting some information from a database of emails between the bookbinders. Unfortunately, we do not have that ready as of now. It's a large amount of data to go through, but it was recovered from Gleam Serpentine's room during this same investigation that the first piece of evidence came from. And the note that was left by this guy to Gleam Serpentine. We could pass that one over, couldn't we?
Derek grins and says, I think this will work. This is a great idea. So, this being said, Jack mentions that the defense has a turn to speak. Verona spends a few moments conferring with Cheval Gaffer before she stands up. Bear with me here. I'm checking some merits.
Can't believe I didn't do this when I submitted the evidence.
What is it?
Just highlighted a message in chat. Couldn't help myself.
All right. Verona stands up and says, ladies and gentlemen of the board of directors, the jury, and the audience, I would like to talk to each and every one of you about, as you all have been saying quite extensively, the Lord of Tales. My client has been telling me about the Lord of Tales. And as you guys state, he does. Serving him is a crime against changelings. Cheval Gaffer does not deny the accusations of working with the Loyalists. However, would any of you be able to deny the power of a true Fae when they come to make demands of you? Because this man is not strong enough to resist a true Fae, does this mean he should be summarily run out of town with some amount of rehabilitation and watching? He could be brought back into your numbers as a compatriot once again. Is not forgiveness divine? She makes her roll. Intelligence plus academics with a law specialty. It's an asset skill for her as her using the professional training lawyer merit and using the 5-dot specialty. The 5-dot benefit, she gets the rote quality to this role. So, if you guys had any responses, now's the time.
You're waiting for rehabilitation for a man who could endanger us all, and if we don't bring him back into the fold, ends up bringing any number of changelings back into the fold of the Lord of Tales.
Additionally, every single person standing here before you has rejected the might of the Lord of Tales by their simple presence outside of his walls. Every one of you made the decision to leave. Every last one of you. That strength is the bare minimum to stand within these or any walls within Vegas for a changeling. To turn your back on that strength is the choice these men have made.
Hit.
We're not gods. Divinity isn't for us to decide. We don't need to forgive anyone.
Okay. So, here's a thought. Doesn't matter. In the eyes of the law, doesn't matter. Rules on paper here. Does the law allow for a changeling to be forced into something like this? Or does the law state that they have to work with the Loyalists? So does your argument even matter, is what I'm asking.
According to the laws of the free company. We are here on those bylaws.
The conversation among the board of directors grows heated. Jack stands up and says, "Prosecution, we've heard a lot from your witnesses. Would you mind calling them to the stand?"
As you will. Which would you have us go? Oh, which of us would you have go first, Mr. Hutz?
All right, which one of you wants to go first? Kit, Kenzie, Elliot?
Hi! I'm super excited.
Elliot, for particular reasons, I think you should be last.
Fair enough.
Kit, let you go first.
All right. Yeah, so I go up.
Derek asks first as you take the stand. Have you ever interacted with Cheval Gaffer outside of this room?
So out of character, my memory is not the
No,
greatest.
this is the first time we've been in a room with him.
Nah, this is my first time interacting with a gentleman.
So you don't hold any sort of grudge or anything against him personally?
No, just professionally.
And can you tell me, what do you know about Mr. Gaffer?
Well, from what I've seen, he's been working with the bookbinders, and apparently he's been taking binkies, and I'm sorry, out of character, I don't remember all the details.
In order of operations, he is delivering threats on behalf of the True Fae. He's working under and over 2 already known and executed bookbinders, and we were able to find his title during the evidence because we know his name is through the looking glass, and we never got that information, but Lucerne had that information. Referring to him as through the looking glass might be a useful note.
Yeah. So I relay all this. Sorry.
Derek nods in satisfaction and rests. Verona gets up to ask some questions of her own.
Okay.
So you stated that you've never interacted with Mr. Gaffer. Is that correct?
As far as I'm aware.
Okay. And you've mentioned that you wonder if our arguments for mercy have any basis. Is that also correct?
Yeah. Letter of the law. The law is what it is, and any modifications to it shouldn't be made on the fly in the courtroom. Should be thought about, and changed without the pressure of being being under a time crunch.
Mr. Cotton, would you describe yourself as a lawful man?
We're not talking about me.
You've stated that the law is what it is, and we shouldn't take any other factors into account. So, are you a lawful man?
I'm not the one on trial here.
You're not, no. But I do remember when you and your friends came to rescue me. I didn't see you, but I heard gunshots.
Yes.
Your friends didn't have a gun.
Yes.
Nevada's an open carry state, but the kind of gun that I heard you using, that would probably be some type of sniper rifle. Am I correct?
Yeah.
At the very least, this would break brandishing laws, assuming that you didn't injure or harm anyone, deliberately or accidentally.
No, just a huntsman.
Objection.
Go on.
Are you familiar with self-defense laws, ma'am?
Jack shrugs and says, he has a point. If he was fighting bookbinders, then that would very much be legal under the state laws, even for mortals. In that case, sighs Verona, I have one more question. If you got to choose what to happen or got to happen to loyalists, Mr. Cotton, what sentence would you carry out?
If I had my choice?
Yes.
Well, What does the law say?
The law of the free company states exile.
There you
The
go.
law of the freehold you are a part of states execution.
Mhm.
So which would you choose?
Well, depends on which party, which organization the guilty was a member of. I'm not going to impose my rules and regulations on y'all, just like y'all aren't going to impose them on us. They didn't sign up, so it's whichever group they signed up for. That's the laws that apply to them.
The jury responds favorably to Kit's questioning. Verona has no further questions, and Kinsey is called to the stand.
Thank you.
Kenzie takes the stand.
Derek asks again, how do you know Cheval Gaffer?
Cheval Gaffer was a name and a face that was revealed to me throughout the evidence already presented.
So, like your friend, you have no personal grudge against him as you have never met him or fought him.
Correct. Although I don't know if, hold on, out of character. We have fought him, correct?
No, unless he was part of a crowd of millions of bookbinders where we never were able to identify all the titles.
That's why I said not that I'm aware of.
In character now, sorry. There is a possibility that one of our first nights of the hunt, we were faced with him in a crowd, but we weren't able to see all of the titles at that time.
That's fair enough. We're only human, as they say. That being said, can you tell me what you know of the Bookbinders as an organization, Miss Morgan?
The bookbinders are loyalists who are loyal to the Lord of Tales and or other Truth Bay, who seek to drag changelings back to Arcadia.
The very thing we all stand against. No more questions. Verona stands up and says, first off, I have a question for you, Ms. Morgan. What personal interest do you have in this case?
Currently, the only personal interest I have in this case is the fact that you have threatened me.
Roll presence plus persuasion, Kinsey. This statement falls flat. Verona turns to the jury and spreads her hands and says, as Mr. Finch has already stated, there are no other options. And I would like to state, as a professional, that whether or not you or I like each other is not going to impact my performance as Mr. Cheval's defense.
As I stated before, I don't have any issue with you being the lawyer. I understand the position we're in. I don't disagree with the ruling of the board. However, you asked what personal investment I had in this case, and I was specifically told by my motley mate that you stated that I needed to watch my back around you. That is my personal involvement in this case.
She nods and says, so, as your motley mate has stated, and you yourself have stated, you never met Cheval Gaffer. So the evidence that you have gathered is what you have confirming that he is a bookbinder, correct?
Correct.
While he has already admitted this, I would like to state that it is strange for a member of a rival freehold to be so forthcoming with evidence regarding loyalists.
I would also like to state that I am also working for Royal Flush. I work under Lucerne Bridgewater. Every hunt night, I'm out there helping changelings escape from loyalists and huntsmen and true fae. I'm fighting against bookbinders. You're trying to save one. I don't think we're the same here.
Verona growls out no further questions. Elliot is taken to the stand.
Just genuine question. Are we getting like sworn in or anything?
Yes.
Absolutely. So I'm assuming we are under some sort of oath to the weird to not deceive or anything. Wonderful.
Yes, that's correct.
Absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad.
You are the one who presented the original vision that was taken into evidence, and your memory is the one that provided the initial recording. Is that correct?
Yep. Those are both things. We also have the tool necessary for creating those if you'd like to test it yourself to see its efficacy. I brought it here in case it was relevant. I set that Polaroid camera out on the table.
And it may be, should the board of directors grant it as such. This would make you the only person who saw Cheval Gaffer's face. Is that correct?
It would indeed, ma'am.
And Derek says, is this the person you saw in your visions?
Absolutely. They were easily identified from the description I was given. I never met Cheval Gaffer before this night, but apparently they were able to find a person exactly matching my description and brought them before us today. Somebody who was later named in a conversation between two bookbinders.
Derek nods and says, this seems like an open and shut case to me, members of the board.
May I ask a small question of a matter that I don't know?
Of course.
I was informed after he was taken into custody that he was identified as possessing the title, as bookbinders are possession of, Through the Looking Glass. May I ask how that identification was made? That is the only piece of evidence I haven't been made aware of.
Lucerne raises her hand again and says, I found the mask in his apartment. It was even special made and padded so it would go over his face, since his face is flat.
I see. Thank you. My apologies, Lucerne.
She nods and grins, showing her dozens of teeth, and sits back down. Derek turns to the jury and says, this is open and shut. He's guilty. I rest my case. Verona comes up to ask some questions.
Hello, Verona. I'm sorry to meet you again under these circumstances.
She nods and says, as am I. While we have been on the stand, your motley has shown a severe antipathy towards bookbinders and loyalists.
Yes.
Can I ask where that antipathy comes from?
Ma'am, I have a question for you. Do you know what it's like to be drunk?
Yes, I've partaken of alcohol.
No. To be drunk. To have been drunken. To have somebody swallow you whole.
She looks flustered and says, no, I don't.
I do. And I have known that for apparently only a year, but I remember watching this man who was taken from the 1920s come and go. I remember seeing our lamp be installed. And I was every night forced to mix myself into a pleasing sort of alcohol and swallowed whole. And the moment I was able to escape that, 3 men wearing book-shaped masks with knives attacked the first person who had ever been kind to me and tried to bring me back. So forgive me for not being exactly on wonderful terms with such men. Additionally, every problem I've run into here and in Lost Vegas proper has to do with people distrusting each other because of the threat of loyalists. Every difficulty we've run into, paranoia over the concerns of who might be wearing a book-shaped mask come up. It's why we're here. It's why we came to talk to Jack. It's why we are working with Lucerne. Because as long as there are bookbinders, we will live in fear.
Verona nods. So, you don't believe in mercy then, Mr. McCoy?
I believe in mercy, but I do not have the words Judge Dredd written upon my collar, ma'am. I am not in charge of goddamn anything. I am a lowly member of the Spring Court, have no power here, other than the information that I have seen and heard, that I've provided in a court of law. Would you want me to not be here, providing the evidence? I can understand it's inconvenient, but that is my job, just as yours is to be here defending him.
Verona... Oh, go on.
I don't have the ability to determine what's done with a captured loyalist, nor do I have any ability to stop them from doing what they're doing. All I could do is let them operate, or use the engine of justice that exists within where I am as best I can and do as little harm as I can. Do you know how we met, Verona? Do you know why we met?
I believe that you told me it was because you swore an oath to my brother.
Indeed. Because I could not bear for that man to go into his fate thinking that something terrible had happened to you when you had no fault in this.
She looks visibly frustrated and states no further questions. Derek looks at the three of you as you go back to the prosecution table and says, and now it's time for the clincher. He holds up the liar's apple that you brought. I've got one further witness, Cheval Gaffer himself. Everyone murmurs as the loyalist takes the stand, and Cheval Gaffer sits down. The prosecuting attorney, Derek Hutz, stands up and presents the apple to the board of directors. Esteemed ladies and gentlemen of the board, do you recognize this? The small mouse changeling leans in and says, "This is a liar's apple. It is a goblin fruit that, when eaten, causes someone to be unable to tell the truth until the sun rises or sets." Correct, says Derek. I propose to the board that, should Cheval Gaffer be willing, he eat this apple before testifying. That will make him unable to tell the truth, and by the use of yes or no questioning, as the witnesses have stated, we will know with certainty what the truth is as he denies it. The board confers briefly before coming to the unanimous decision. Mr. Gaffer, are you willing to eat the fruit? The despondent loyalist looks at you guys at the prosecution table and says, sure, why not? He's given the apple and puts it to the clear spot on the mirror representing his mouth and bites down and swallows it. Bite by bite. It's very interesting to watch as the bites of the apple disappear into the mirror as though they were rocks going into a still pond. You can hear teeth gnashing behind it, but you can't see them. Mr. Gaffer, states Mr. Hutz, are you a loyalist? No. Did the events that we witnessed in the recorded vision take place? No. I have here a note that came with the mask that we saw in the vision. Is this your handwriting, Mr. Gaffer? No, he states. Barrett turns around and says, everyone, this is, as Mr. Finch stated, turning into a circus. It's been clear. The defense attorney stated that Mr. Gaffer admitted that he was a loyalist, and we witnessed him admit it here via the roundabout method of the liar's apple. He admitted everything happened as the witness is stating. I present this note to the board of directors. They pass it around and read it. And remember, Mr. Gaffer has admitted once again to the roundabout method of the liar's apple that it is his handwriting. There can be no doubt. No further questions. Verona stands up and takes a deep breath. Mr. Gaffer, you admitted on this stage that you are a loyalist. Is that correct? Cheval says, no. I see. Mr. Gaffer, did you mean to betray your compatriots? Did you want to become a loyalist? Yes. Were you swayed by money? Yes. Were you bribed through other methods? Yes. Was your safety perhaps threatened? No. Could you tell us what you were told? Cheval looks around nervously. I absolutely was not told by the Grim Hunter, on the authority of the Lord of Tales, that if I didn't do this, my face would be shattered and used as a shiv. Verona turns to the assembled people. Everyone, you've heard what Mr. Gaffer has admitted. Via the magic of the liar's apple, he cannot tell the truth, which means you can take the opposite of everything he said for granted. When he said that he wasn't told that his face would be shattered, that means that is precisely the threat that was made. So, as we've been arguing this whole time, Mr. Gaffer isn't innocent, but he deserves some measure of forgiveness. Is exiling him truly the thing to do? Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I leave this decision in your hands.
A hand is raised behind the prosecution's desk.
Yes, Mr. McCoy?
I understand this is highly irregular, but we only have a short time with the Liar's Apple in operation, and there is one question I think would be relevant to this jury, in suit of some form of clemency for this man, if that is what our defendant is hoping for.
Please proceed, Mr. McCoy.
Are you willing to name and identify others who were involved in your organization in exchange for any amount of clemency that can be offered by the jury?
Cheval Gaffer leans forward, the face drawn in his mirror, showing a huge smile, an expression of utter relief. He grabs the stand and shakes his head vigorously. No, 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 of course not, never. So, all three of you, I would like you to roll Kenning. I believe that's just a weird roll, please.
Yes.
Can I put willpower into that?
I mean, sure, you can put willpower into most things.
So that's just clarity, right? Or what was it?
I thought it was just weird.
Weird? Just weird?
Give me a second, I'll verify it.
Because I
All right,
thought...
Kenning's on page 107.
107? Alrighty.
I'm going to start memorizing more of this stuff, I swear. Success. Rules the character's current clarity and secret.
Yeah, that would mean I should roll it. But in this case, since I'm asking for a roll from you, you guys just roll your clarity for me, okay?
That's wits plus composure unless you've taken clarity damage since last we've spoken.
And this is not a perception roll, so Trained Observer does not apply.
Nope.
Okay.
2 successes.
3 successes because I willpowered.
Sorry, 1 success. I was looking at Tibbs' result for some reason.
2 successes.
Wait, 1, 2, 3. Wow! Small straight.
You feel a surge of weird in the area. And suddenly you see Cheval Gaffer grasp at his face, his hands scrabbling, as a hand in a brown robe reaches out through his face. Another comes behind it, and a figure pulls itself out, immediately snapping his fingers. You can feel the weird settle around you. Suddenly, you feel the weird chains of banes and bands. The bookbinder who climbed out of the face of Cheval Gaffer gets up, dusts off his robe, and gives a bow with a flourish. You can see the title on the his mask states The Great Gatsby.
Gatsby, we've heard so much about you.
Question. Everyone's looking at this guy right now, right?
Yes.
Could I ask a small favor?
Sure.
Kenzie, if I tapped you on the shoulder and politely whispered into your ear, would you lay down Cloak at Night for me?
Yes, absolutely.
Am I armed?
You are absolutely not.
Not armed. Yeah,
We're in
okay.
a
Yeah,
courtroom. We were on a witness stand. They are not letting us keep our
yeah.
firearms.
It's worth asking.
I mean,
Worth
I
asking.
always have my firearms.
If you have anything small you could have snuck in, I'll allow you to have that.
I just have my
I,
fist.
I didn't have anything on my character sheet prior to this, so
There's a bottle in my pocket, but that's about it.
As you think about violence, you can feel the weird bands that have been applied to you suddenly tighten. You feel like nothing so much as sitting back down.
I'm not interested in doing violence. I merely wish to disappear.
Well, you can do that, yes.
All right.
I pay the glamour and cloak of Nidus.
And I'm going to go step between him and the mirror just in case he decides to go back that way. That's it. That's all I wanted to do.
I would like I would like to see if I can do a perception roll to notice any distinguishing marks on this gentleman other than the book title.
Sure.
See if we can glean anything from this.
This is definitely the royal court, so unless we started violence before he got here, we're not going to be able to start any. That's fine. But I am going to make it inconvenient for him to leave.
2 successes.
Kit gives the bookbinder the trained eye of a sniper. He does notice that the hood sits oddly.
Okay.
The Great Gatsby nods to the assembled room. Ladies and gentlemen of this fine kangaroo court, he says, I have no doubt that you have found Cheval Gaffer guilty. And you should. He is. He worked under myself and my colleague, 1984. If you wish to exile him or execute him, be my guest. Knowing him, I'm going to bet that he just offered to squeal. Am I right?
No,
No,
he
he's
offered. He did not offer to squeal at all.
He rather explicitly said he would never do that.
Yep.
The Great Gatsby laughs and says, then he is a better man than I thought. Maybe, just maybe, I should rescue you, Cheval. Would you like that?
I have to apologize, sir, but it's really rude to speak to people without knowing your name.
You can call me the Great Gatsby. It's written on my mask.
Oh no, I mean your actual name. I wouldn't refer to a book as a human. I wouldn't refer to a changeling as a human. I wouldn't refer to you by a book's name.
You're very funny, ma'am. I can see why you and your friends have been such a problem for us lately.
Question, Kenny.
Yeah?
Is it violence to try to take his mask off?
Sorry, I'm going to have to say, yeah, that's absolutely grabbing him, which would, be a violent act.
Is destruction of property a violent act?
Depends on the means by which it's accomplished.
Touch of
Grabbing
wrath.
and pulling.
Touch of wrath. It literally could not harm him under any circumstances.
That's true, but touching someone when they don't want to would be considered assault.
Fair enough. I didn't think I was going to get away with that. Or this next one. Question. Does his robe look freshly laundered, properly cleaned? Does it look like it's been worn any amount before this? Is there any dirt on it, perhaps from where he was coming from?
Give me a chance roll.
This is such nonsense, but I have to try. For
All right.
failure.
Perfectly clean.
God damn it. Oh well. I was gonna try and Brownie's boon an excuse to clean his entire robe, hopefully revealing some details to the crowd. It would have been funny. He can't see me and it's a mundane chore.
Kenny, is it violence to lift his robe?
Touching a person that doesn't want to be touched.
I'm not touching him. I'm touching his robe. I'm not touching you.
I think we've been told in no uncertain terms that we don't have a way to justify this.
Okay, hold on. Let me think here.
I need that fucking contract.
I got nothing, guys. I'm sorry.
So the Great Gatsby looks at Cheval and says, "So, do you want me to rescue you?" He begins shaking his head wildly. No, 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 no. Okay, he says, shrugging. Then I guess you have turned yourself over to whatever justice royal flesh will provide.
So wait, sorry, out of character. He said no, so he means yes, he wants to be rescued?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Just the Gatsby doesn't know this.
Gatsby clearly wasn't here for the courtroom. He's just making assumptions.
This dude is dumb. Okay, continue.
So, as Cheval has thrown himself on the mercy of the jury, I assure you that I will be brief. I come here as a goodwill emissary.
Go on.
People of royal flesh, are you not vilified daily by the changelings of Lost Vegas, the majority of the changeling community, because they assume that you are tied to us? He throws out his chest and he says, and of course, that is true. I happen to have a prominent position here. And I can tell you, at least one member of the board of directors is compromised. And of course, Jack's bodyguard. I'm sure you've all noticed she's gone. And I'm sure that it's become public knowledge that Holly is one of us. So, yes, Kenzie?
Who else is one of you, Gatsby?
Hopefully, everyone here. The Great Gatsby turns around. So, here is my proposition. We will protect all of you. All we want is the cooperation of the free company. Is there any reason for you to work with an organization such as Las Vegas that hates you, that many of you left because of their disdain for democracy and upholding of traditional feudal systems? Why does anyone get to be a lord anymore and get a king and get to pronounce you as a traitor, whether you are or not? So join us. Together, we'll get rid of Lost Vegas. You will be the only changeling society, and this will become an entire city of loyalists.
That is the worst Ponzi scheme I've ever heard. You're Britain even worse than The Great Gatsby. And I don't say that lightly because that's really a terrible book. And you're a terrible person. So maybe, like, don't.
The Great Gatsby looks around for the source of the noise, but shrugs and simply responds, "This is a resolution to a war that is coming, and it will come should you refuse this. I'm not talking about a war between Arcadia and Las Vegas. I'm talking about a war between Royal Flush and the Lost Vegas Freehold. They blame you daily for what we do, and as I've stated here, they are at least partially correct. They will exterminate you, eventually. But
No, we will exterminate you eventually.
Yeah, how things go against the what was her name? Y'all
Cla-
she
oh,
posted
Clara.
up. Yeah, how things go with Clara? If you're so strong that you can protect her or protect all these people, how things go with Clara?
A woman in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Who'd never used a gun before that night.
Kinsey notices that she has an incredibly difficult time getting the words out. The band that has centered on her shoulders grasps tight at this threat of extermination.
So,
Uh,
my,
sorry, can I do an out of character thing real quick?
Sure.
We just saw a ban on even talking about violence, which means that we know what kind of seeming this guy has.
Yep.
What
Sorry,
kind of seeming is it?
I need to go look it up. I'll get it. It's in
I
Royal,
believe it's fairest.
but I think he's a fairest, yeah. Anyways, sorry, back to the action.
So, how'd things go with Clara? How many of your the wolves did you lose? And uh how many people did you lose? And how many people did the Freehold lose?
So can I ask real quick, are all of you under Cloak of Night?
Yes.
The Great Gatsby gives a belly laugh and says, "Wow, there sure are a lot of talkative ghosts in this room, I'll tell you. But yes, we lost quite a few Briarwolves. Yes, we haven't been doing well lately.
Mhm.
But that is because of three people.
And who
And if I hear these voices, I'm going to guess that our talkative ghosts are the three people involved. Are you not?"
so if you guys aren't able to go after the Freehold, one woman in a wheelchair, how do you expect to be able to protect all these people if they side with you?
Because, he states, what we are offering is not unconditional. In order to receive the love and protection of the Lord of Tales and his blessing to stay in the mortal world, he wants something from you, people of royal flesh.
Your
Three
last
recently escaped changelings.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is not the fairest of them all?
Roll an observation roll, Kenzie.
can I roll an observation roll?
Sure.
That's just wits plus composure, right?
Yeah.
One success.
3 successes.
You do notice that he flinches hard when you recite the rhyme, and you see a small bit of smoke seep out from one of his sleeves.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Am I allowed to speak while he's a little bit flustered?
Sure.
I'm going to speak something aloud to everyone who's in this room. When I first moved to Vegas, the thing I did was get so outrageously drunk that I woke up without any of my clothes, wearing the clothes of a stranger in the gutter, just down the strip. I still had no idea where my friends had been or what I did that night. I spoke a secret aloud in public. There is a mortal here who could hear it aloud. Walls Have Ears activates for free.
Yes.
And I have just said so to the robe this man is wearing, that I am not allowed to touch, nor is anyone but him allowed to.
What is that?
Also,
what
if
is,
it
what does that do?
helps,
I see.
also if it helps, you can use my Darkling bonus.
Once per chapter.
Unfortunately, that already got used.
Sorry.
I see a vision of the person who last handled or touched the object, as well as the circumstances of the scene.
All right. You see a vision of a handful of hobgoblins carefully cleaning the robe. They look up and see a figure coming in and say, "My lord." And then the vision ends.
He hasn't touched his own clothes. That's a weird statement. Wow, weird you can wear clothes without putting them on. That's impressive.
I have people to dress me. I can't say, I don't think I can say the same for you, Mr. Talkative Ghost.
Well, someone dressed him in someone else's clothing.
My apologies for the interruption. You know how contracts work. I walk away from him, sitting down openly in a way that would cause a chair to move.
And invisibly, might I state.
Yes, because there's still nothing that causes me to become visible here.
So, the motley of changelings who were testifying here is the price that we ask should you wish to take us up on the offer. And if you wish to do this, we ask that you bring them to us on the night of the new moon, August 8th.
I'm right here. Come grab me, sir.
Take me yourself, coward.
Of course not. He laughs. I have forbidden violence through the weird. Surely you've noted.
And as such, if you were capable of doing all these promises, surely you could take me here and now. You're offering an awful lot for someone who has got no track record. Wasn't it Buzz who said you guys hadn't captured much of anything in the last couple of months? I swear he said something about that.
We should probably let this fine gentleman go, the not so great Gatsby. I'm sure he has other poor souls to bamboozle into his MLM.
Yeah, he's got a green light to go fall into, or maybe a pool to go drown in.
3 changelings standing against you is all it took to grind you guys to a halt.
That's sure gonna help you against a whole giant freehold. That's gonna be a lot.
3 changelings that work with both courts and the royal plush. So your impending war might as well be a fantasy you've made up to jerk off over.
The only thing that you have is the division you've sown. And we're fixing that. We're building bridges.
But it's not just us three.
How arrogant you ghosts are to think you can heal hate. Hate does not heal. It festers.
And it's a shame that you think that hope is so fucking weak.
Are those two yelling at each other very openly now? It feels like that's what's going on.
No, the contract states explicitly that negotiations can be very heated as long as there is no violence.
No, I just want to make sure they're loud, because I'm going to go whisper in Cheval's ear, would you like to not be in this room right now?
When Cheval shakes his head enthusiastically. Well, no, he nods enthusiastically.
I feel a fairly mundane thing is carrying a friend out of a room, yeah?
Sure.
All right, Brownie's Boone spending 1, 2, 3 glamour. He and I are gone. We're fucking gone.
All right, where are you taking Cheval Gaffer, loyalist?
Him and I are wandering over to, I'm gonna say Lucerne's room. I feel like is the most safe place in the Royal Flush right now. And
All
I know
right.
where it is.
And are you absolutely sure you want to run away with the defendant on trial?
I think that's a bad idea.
Fair point.
Can I just put him under cloak of night?
Fair enough. I thought I had a clever plan for making it so he didn't have a good exit. I don't know what to do here, guys.
Okay.
I mean, cloak of night would mean he can't see that mirror.
Sorry, can I correct my statement, being that somebody has pressed brains into my head?
Sure.
Do we have your permission to have you disappear?
He shakes his head enthusiastically.
Madame?
I pay a glamour. I'm down to 4 now. And he disappears.
I walk with him carefully over to sit next to Jack in one of the open seats.
The Great Gatsby doesn't appear to notice, but Jack absolutely does, giving the empty space where you stand and the side eye as he can feel the body heat of Cheval Gaffer appearing in an empty chair. Great Gatsby does not appear to have noticed. He snaps his finger, and on the table behind him appears a large, twisted horn spattered in blood. Should you wish to take us up on this offer, simply bring these 3 together and blow the horn on the new moon. We will come, and we will honor this offer.
That sounds like a threat of violence to me, Mr. Ferris.
We're not threatening anyone. We're simply offering. It's up to these people whether they want to take us up on our offer.
Of violence.
Only if you enact violence towards them when they come for you. If you come peacefully, then no violence will be done.
Not even when we get to you? That seems odd.
You claim to care for these people, but you wouldn't sacrifice yourselves?
We never said that. However, I don't think anyone needs to sacrifice anything to you. You're not a god.
You are poor heroes. And now, he says, I shall take my... Then he turns around and notices the absence of Cheval Gaffer.
Mask off? Was that what you were about to say? You're going to take your mask off?
You know, you really didn't have an exit strategy, did you?
He coughs and says, Good one, you chatty ghosts. However, a gentleman is always in his element. He walks over to the door to the courtroom and knocks on it. Green light spills out from under it as the door is opened by a hobgoblin. You can hear strains of violin music in the back, coming wafting through it. My lord.
I pull out my cell phone and start recording.
Okay. The hobgoblin bows and says, "My lord." Great Gatsby walks through and shuts the door. The hedge gateway is closed and dissipates.
Fair enough. I motion to our party to uninvisible the mirror boy.
Did I uninvisible all of us?
Yeah, probably a good idea.
All right, I drop it.
Sorry about that. I thought we had a pretty good idea. I hope you don't mind us borrowing your defendant.
Jack sighs and stands up. Okay. We've heard everything, and I think, and then some, yes. And I believe we have gotten the greatest piece of evidence we ever could from a unexpected witness. Board of Directors, raise your hand if you vote guilty. Unanimously, all present raise their hand. Jury, do you need to deliberate? A small box of a dozen changelings is seated nearby. One of them, a beast who appears to be of a canine persuasion, stands up and says, "No, Jack, sir. He should go into exile." "So it will be," says Jack. He claps his hands. Then let it be. Then let it be taken out by the authority of Lady Luck herself, Cheval Gaffer. I curse you. If you ever set foot in Las Vegas again, your life is forfeit. You have 6 hours to leave town. Lucerne will have your things delivered to you, and you will be delivered to your apartment on your own recognizance. If you are still in town within 6 hours, the curse will take effect, and we will know. Cheval looks down at the stand and shakes his head. "No," he says sadly. The audience seems incredibly divided. There's cheering, but there's also dozens of changelings who are completely silent. The courtroom drains not long after. What was that?
I walk over to Cheval and say, "I'm sorry we weren't able to get at you any leniency for cooperation. I wasn't expecting that. Best of luck, comrade."
"It's not okay," he says. "I blame you."
As you should.
The courtroom drains and Lucerne grabs Cheval roughly, giving him a bright, toothy smile. She drags him off, stating, "Oh, I just hope you overstay your welcome. The 6-hour clock's ticking." You're soon left by yourselves in the courtroom.
I don't think we belong here.
This next hunt is going to be interesting.
Why us? I mean, we're pretty cool, but I don't think we're this cool.
We've been causing a lot of problems for the Loyalists, and actively hunting them when no one else was.
That pen can't be that important, can it? I don't know.
I don't know what.
All I know is that this sucked. It
Yeah.
really sucked. And I don't like the outcome, but I didn't like the income either.
What kind of person cannot wear their own clothes? What sort
What
of...
kind of person smokes when I say mirror, mirror on the wall?
Got some definitely got a little bit of information, and the question is whether or not he was lying about being a part of the Royal Flush.
He absolutely is. He was in charge of Cheval, so it seems. I We have to find this guy soon. We're going to have to go looking. We've got a couple of clues, and we know that he has his own hollow, which has, that thing where they said that you could enter it from anywhere you liked if you knew the key, that knock. I doubt that's going to be enough to get us in, but
Yep.
maybe we could find a more normal door with what we've seen. I know you're pretty good at navigating the hedge, Kenzie. Do you think we could go looking?
I mean, we can always go looking. The hedge responds to your wills and your whims just as easily as a dream.
Is it
I,
practical though?
I don't know what's practical anymore. All I know is I'm going to be looking through our evidence as best I can, because the sooner we find this guy, the safer everyone's going to be.
All right, sorry for my brief absence.
Um, what happened to the horn?
As the three of you exit the courtroom, you see Jack lurking in a doorway, holding the horn uncomfortably at arm's length.
May I ask
Intent to leave it with Jack, if you guys are.
May I ask a question, Jack?
He nods over and says, "Shoot, this did not turn out well."
I will say yes if you ask me this. Do you want us to come join you on the next new moon? Or do you trust us to keep you safe?
Whether I trust you or not, I can't ask you to go back into Arcadia.
Then you are exactly the sort of person I hoped you were. I'm going to keep working to help sew up the divide between you and your comrades. Kurt and Will miss you, by the way. You should visit them.
Jack visibly jumps back. Kurt? Will?
Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time with Kurt down in the armory.
And Will thinks of you fondly, as does Leo.
Jack bites his lip. So Kurt told you, huh?
There were some implications.
We're not the dumbest people you've ever met.
I might be.
Well, it's true, he said. Will and Kurt and I were in a motley together. Are still in a motley together.
You didn't strike me as one for breaking oaths.
Of course not.
It might be time to it might be time for an olive branch, my friend.
He shrugs and says, "There's a lot of bad blood. Besides, the only oath breaker in our motley is Will."
Fair enough. If there's anything we can do to help, you'd let us know, right?
I'll have to think about it.
Should I be worried about that?
Jack sighs and says, I know what this is. I've seen it before. It's the Aurochs horn. It's a gift from Arcadia. All you have to do is blow it. And the true Fae come calling.
You don't say.
Before you ask, we do not have a gun nearly big enough.
It might be worth holding on to that.
This is what I have to deal with all day.
I think I heard someone saying the other day, if it bleeds, it can die.
You seen him bleed yet?
I aim to find out.
Anyways, Jack, I'm sorry for making a circus of your courtroom.
Jack sighs and says, "It looks like it was destined to be a circus. I'm sorry, you guys, but I think you should leave for tonight."
Consider us gone. If you need anything, Lucerne has all of our contact information.
Jack of Hearts sighs, puts the horn over his shoulder, and leaves.
Oh, one last question, Jack.
Yes,
Do you
he
want,
says, turning around.
if we find Holly, do you want us to bring her back?
He turns back around and heads back towards the elevator. Over his shoulder, you can just about hear him say, "No, take her to Lost Vegas."
Understood.
And we'll end here for the night. Let's go around the table and do aspirations, everyone. Who wants to go first?
Go for it.
Go ahead, Elliot.
All right. Be an ace attorney. Well, I was technically not the attorney for the case. I think I did pretty well on the stand.
Fair enough, yes.
Resolve some debts. This was me going and getting market sense for our boy here because it'll help him with some goblin debt.
Absolutely, yeah. And you also got in touch with Rild the Soulmonger, who owns Memsatch's Icons.
Which I was about to bring up in a couple of seconds. Great on Gatsby, which was my general joke for tracking Gatsby down. I think I got a couple of good clues about finding him now.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Help Mimsatch pull himself together. I found all his icons.
Yes, you did.
What are the fucking odds? And lastly, become a major player in spring. I turned in a painting to the Viscount, and he likes it, and now I'm in good with at least 2 of the spring nobles.
Take a step towards that one.
Thank you.
Who's next?
I'll go next. So I believe I took a step towards convincing a cat to join Royal Flush.
I would say so, yes.
I don't think I took any steps towards becoming a winter knight.
I don't know. I think some of what you've done here today would definitely be qualifying for knighthood. So take a step.
Thank you. Okay, I did make a new friend. I got all of my doors open with Moggins.
Mm-hmm.
I did make a new enemy, I'm pretty sure, because Gatsby didn't specifically hate me before.
That's also true.
And it was opposite day. We fed him the liar's apple.
Yep, that's also true.
And that's me.
Yep.
Okay. So I would like to. So I got some more information about the bookbinders here. So I'd like to take a step towards crippling the bookbinders.
Yes.
Okay. With the scene with Delilah at the beginning there, I'd like to say I took a step towards finding my fetch.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see here. I would say that I definitely took a step towards digging a hole with my with everything that's going on with the royal flush here. Definitely dug a bit of a hole there.
A figurative hole, but a hole nonetheless. Yeah.
Yep. And I don't believe I made any progress towards proving myself to the freehold.
Do you think they're not going to hear about this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And the other one is the last one I have is find a solution for the huntsman. Not sure if I can justify that one.
We just found out that we got some cooperative people going towards it. We know what they're going to be trying to do on the next new moon, and we have a tool that can summon the true Fae and his servants to us.
Okay. So take a step.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And that's all of mine.
All right, and that's everybody. So, any parting words?
Holy crap. That was a lot, and also I don't know if Verona likes us more or hates us more. I'm hoping the attempt to get what's his name off on leniency for being willing to talk will at least show willing to try and cooperate with people. But yeah.
Fair enough. Well, we're going to close out here for the night, everyone. Just before we end, just wanted to also make a mention that the OGL cell at Indie Press Revolution is actually still ongoing. I did not know this until recently. It will go until the 31st. So if you want to pick anything up, now's the time. Well, thank you all for watching. We definitely appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope that you all have a good night.